Hi guys, this is Peugeot 307SW from 2005 and today we will be replacing the oil pan together with the gasket if there is any, because not all of the engines in this car have the gasket on the oil pan. Make sure to open the oil cap. Next, you want to prepare some oil resistant gloves. Make sure that the oil is not hot and have some bucket with you, or a few of them. First of all, to get some room to remove the oil pan, you need to remove the front exhaust pipe. So now, let's remove the bottom lambda sensor. So now if you follow the cables, lambda sensor cable goes here, it leads to the blue connection. So now we want to disconnect the bottom lambda sensor. Before we disconnect the sensors, let's deattach the battery. And now, let's disconnect the sensor. You need to open this fully and then disconnect it. Before you continue unscrewing, you need to disconnect the cable, otherwise it gets twisted. And there you have your bottom lambda sensor. Okay, now to release this part of the pipe, we need to put the Allen key there. So that's what I'm going to do. I will show you a picture of how it looks like, but unfortunately I can't show you that on the video. Then some leverage. So you see the leverage is necessary. I think I'll spare you watching me doing it. You need to remove the front exhaust pipe, and that's what we are going to do now. And to do that, in front of your engine there are bolts that keep it in place. Can't shine the light properly, but I promise you there's one more bolt just there. Now when the pipe went down, we do have the access to remove the oil pan, but we have the access to the bolts from this side, and from the back side, but we don't have the access to remove bolts here. You see, this here is one piece, this is all oil pan. So now to get the access to the bolts that are here under this pad and that pad there, we need to remove this beam, and it's connected by a bolt here and there, and then here. So that's what we are going to remove now. Okay, so this is size 16. That's how the bolt looks like. This one is actually an Allen key, so to remove it we use an Allen key. And that's how it looks like. Okay, and now we can remove this protective beam. When that's removed, we can remove two plugs, one here, one there, and then we have the access to the bolts. I'll show you that. One plug was here, the second one was there. If we now shine some light on it, should be able to see the bolt there, and another one there. Okay, so the only thing left for us to do is to remove the bolts that hold the oil pan. They are all around the oil pan, they are very easy to locate. I will show you where they are when I remove the oil pan, but I'm pretty sure that you will be able to see it yourself. But of course the important thing is to remove the beam that is here, or that used to be here, to get the access to this two ones. Okay, I think I changed the... It's pretty easy to remove them because it's size 8. And therefore there's almost no torque holding them in place. The book states 8 Newton meters when tightening these bolts, and that's also what we are going to use to tighten them. Okay, second one is out. And by the way, you can't remove that bolt if you have your exhaust in place. Or at least it's difficult. It's not impossible, of course, but difficult. This bolt is out, but due to silicone it didn't fall down, so I will just leave it in place, but when we are going to take the pan out it'll just jump on its own. Now if we look at it from the other side, this is the interface on the front exhaust, and now that's the place where the sensor was located, lambda sensor. And then we have just removed, or at least unscrewed, that screw and that one, and now we need to remove that row of bolts, and of course these two bolts. Okay, so now we're back to the first perspective. This is the front of the car, there's the back of the car there. And now if we take a look here, this guiding and protecting plastic, it's made for cables, so the cables run there. And in order to remove the oil pan, you also need to remove the plastic, because it is connected to the oil pan here, you see. So you also need to remove this bolt, which is not holding the oil pan in place, it's just holding this protective element. And now one more thing you need to know: if you look at both sides, this side and the other side of the oil pan, you will find bolts like this. So this one has a nut. It's not a screw, it's a bolt sticking out of the engine. So basically this is your guiding pin. That's why you don't have a screw, you have a nut, because first you need to guide it on this bolt and then you need to lock it with a nut. And the same is on the other side here. If you take a look inside, there is a guiding pin or guiding bolt with a nut. Okay, so now I have removed all of the bolts around the oil pan. I only left one here and one there, holding it in place. And now I need to remove or free this area. So you can either remove these two bolts or you can remove one bolt here. And that's what I'm going to do. I think it's going out quite easily. Okay, and here it is. Now we are ready to remove the last bolt. Okay, so I found the problem. Basically, I thought there's one guiding pin on each side, but apparently there's one on the right side, but there are two guiding bolts on the left side. And I forgot to remove this nut. So I'll just quickly remove it and then we get back to removing the oil pan. Okay, I found another bolt that I forgot to remove, and it's here. So that's your oil pan, exhaust, second part of the oil pan, and then there's a bolt here. So I missed it simply. It's an Allen key that you need to remove this bolt, and then we just remove the bolt and the oil pan is going to be released. So remember, when you're removing the pan, be patient, check all the places for bolts, because it's very easy to miss some, and then you will just spend a lot of time on it. And there's the bolt. And now me place the camera a bit to the side. And now there should be no problem removing the oil pan. Just watch out for this plastic element, bend it so the oil pan comes out nice and easy. And now make sure not to damage the engine. So you need to turn it like that and then remove it. Okay guys, so that's how the engine looks like from under the engine when we take the oil pan off. So now every debris that you see here, every remains of the silicone needs to be removed. And the surface, the mating surface between the oil pan and the engine block needs to be cleaned and ready for new application of the silicone. And this is the oil pan. So there's no groove for the seal either, and what is strange is that all the oil pans that I found online, I just looked for it before the disassembly to have a better look and have a better knowledge of how it looks like, to know where to find the bolts. And all of the ones that I found for my car had a seal. So either this is not an oil pan from my car, which I doubt, or not all of the models with 1.6 liter engine had a seal. If you guys know something more about it, just put a comment below. I believe a lot of people will be grateful for that. I'm surprised, to be honest, but yeah, but that's just how it is. I have a silicone ready, so I will clean this surface of the remains of the old silicone, clean the whole oil pan, and then install it back in the car. Remember not to throw the things you use to clean the oil into a normal garbage. This should be disposed of in a special way. That's oil. It's harmful to environment. So remember to have some bag ready and then take it to the nearest garbage station. Okay, so now I'm going to use alcohol-based spray just to help myself to get rid of the oil and debris. Okay guys, so that's how the oil pan looks clean, or at least acceptable. I could spend additional 3 hours cleaning it and it would be a bit better, but it's acceptable. I think it's okay. The surface where we will apply silicone is clean, and the internal is much cleaner than it was. I have also made a new thread in it because the old one was ripped by a mechanic that got my car just after I bought it 3-4 years ago. So I have finally changed that, and it should be nice now. I increased from M16 to M20, and yes, I think we're almost ready to put it in the car. So next we need to clean the same mating surface but on the engine. So let's start. It'll probably take half an hour at least, and I'll show you the result when I'm done. Remember to remove all traces of old silicone, because we want this to be sealing properly. And now we apply the silicone. Thin layer. Okay, it's not perfect, but I think it's going to be sufficient. Let's put it on the car. Okay, and now, very easy. Okay, now we take some bolts. If you have trouble remembering all the things that we removed, just take a look at the beginning of the video. And what I'll do now is I will connect this front pipe back using this 4 bolts. Remember that on this piece of pipe there is a gasket, so don't lose it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and if you'd like to see more Peugeot 307, check my channel out. I've got plenty of videos about this car, and good luck with your Peugeot.